Hi, everyone. It's me, Sailor Uranus, Sailor Skyworld, Amara here. And today we're going to talk about why me and Michelle, Sailor Neptune, Sailor Sea World, even though it has no sea, it's blue, would be Blue World, I guess, why we became near kin by Pioneer Glee. Now, there have been many beliefs over the years to why Pioneer Glee had to do it. Now, a lot of folks out there will think, oh, a lot of folks had a belief over why Zoisite, who was a man in every other telling a Sailor Moon, and Dic Glee's Sailor Moon became a woman. Now, there is also the belief to why we became near kin when we were unstraight lovers and every other telling a Sailor Moon. And why Fisheye, who was a man and every other telling a Sailor Moon, became a woman. Now, the beliefs were, first off, here is the truth, or at least this isn't the truth, but my guess of why it was done. You know, everyone has their beliefs. The first belief is that it was done out of the fear of bearers, keepers, or teachers watching the show, either with their children or with their learners, and getting irked or angered over unstraight folks. Now, you might think, nowadays, the mindset, the stand, the understanding, the trust, of anyone who is unstraight or comes out being unstraight, the way they were dealt with was not the way they were dealt with back in the day. Now, there was also Dic Glee was frightened or worried that these teachers, bearers, or keepers, or even worship leaders, would make a big deal about it, because there are folks out there who make a big deal out of it, sadly, and would somehow get a hold of UPN or WB and tell them to take the show off. And they might put a big enough squeeze or have enough slay to get it done. So that's why they had to make Zoisite became a woman. That's now, and also they may have also done it under the grounds that they were worried that the ownership and leadership of UPN, WB, USA, and even cartoon folk work would not know how to, even YTV, would not know how to handle unstraightness in a drawing show from Dawnland, which was being fostered for children. Now, I know you might think that nowadays the mindset is unlike, but back then a lot of folks didn't know how to handle those kind of things. And by the time Pioneer Glee or Pathseeker Glee got the rights to work with Sailor Moon, that worry, that fear, that mindset and stand was still there. So Pioneer Glee had to make me and Sailor Neptune, Sailor Blue World, I guess, or Sailor Green World, I don't know, had to make Sailor Sea World and I into near kin. And I know it didn't match up of what we were saying wasn't matching up to what we were doing. And a lot of folks could see through it. But that was the same thing. The same grounds to why Fisheye became a woman was under the same fear, the same worry, the same standard mindset, the worry of bearers, keepers, worshipful leaders, and even teachers getting irked or angered over unstraight folks in a drawing show from Dawnland for little children. And even worrying about what the leadership and ownership of either cartoon or YTV would do, because by that time they were the only two folkworks that had the broadcast rights to Sailor Moon. Now I know someone will watch this film and they'll say, oh well, Viz didn't have to do any of that. Well, nowadays, a lot of nowadays, most folks, not all, but most folks, teachers, keepers, bearers, worshipful leaders, a lot of them are more open-minded and more trusting of anyone who is unstraight. And, you know, so nowadays, Viz didn't have to do all that shit. But back then, Deep Glee, Pioneer Glee, sadly, they had to do that. Now, that's just my belief over why I think that Zoisite became a woman, which in Deek's world she is, and which me and Michelle and Pioneer Glee's world, or Pathfinder Glee's world, we are nearkin, sorry, and that meant Fisheye is a woman in Pioneer Glee or Pathseeker Glee's world too. And it is what it was at that time. From between 95 YL to 20 YL, at that time, that was how drawing shows were handled, or at least drawing shows from Dawnland were handled in North Vinland. Before I end this film, there are going to be those who say, oh, but Dawnland puts all of that shit in there, and that was for children. Well, the standard of what Dawnland thought was all right for children to watch on the Farseer at that time was not the standard of 4-1 Reichs in a settled land at that time. So you can't, so that would be the forgiveness. And that's just my guess to why I think why Deep Glee, later on Pioneer Glee or Pathseeker Glee, had to do what they had to do with Sailor Moon, and why Viz News didn't have to do any of that work, though. And I'll see you all later.